Hi, everyone. I'm Chris Grutz, Executive and Artistic Director at the Annenberg Center, and I'm really pleased you're joining us for the Annenberg Center's first ever Facebook Live stream. We're bringing you the fantastic new music ensemble, So Percussion, and of course, we would have had the ensemble in person in our Harold Prince Theater this past April, but the pandemic's prevented us from presenting them. We're working hard to find a new date for the ensemble in person in Philadelphia, and until we do, we're really pleased you can join us tonight online. At Penn, we're very fortunate to have a really amazing composition department, and we're going to be joined tonight by a PhD candidate, Erin Busch, as our moderator. Penn composition students were fortunate enough to work with So Percussion over the last year in their Brooklyn studio around a range of work that the ensemble was meant to present in our Harold Prince Theater this past April. Tonight, you'll see a range of short solo performances by the ensemble, and then what we hope is a lively discussion around new music and their work. I hope that you'll stick around and join us for a Q&A and discussion after the performance, and please feel free to give us your comments or questions. And until we can meet again, we'll see you soon. Be well.
Hi, welcome to the show. My name is Adam Sliwinski. I'm a member of So Percussion. Welcome to a show from our home studios. Each of us are playing some solos with what we've got at home. We're not quite back in our studio in Brooklyn yet, so we're going to play some things that we have at home for you. What I'm going to do, one of the things I have at home is a lot of pianos and keyboards. And I have a digital piano and an instrument that my friend Dan Trueman invented, which is called the bitKlavier. It's an instrument that takes a digital piano and warps the sounds and does all kinds of interesting effects with it. He wrote a series of pieces called Nostalgic Synchronic Etudes for me. I'm going to play the first one, which is called Prelude.
Hey, I'm Eric Chavich from So Percussion. I'm going to play the piece Rolling Meditation by Pauline Oliveros. It's from 1989. And for those who don't know Pauline Oliveros, she sort of founded the concept of deep listening, which often revolved around hearing the sounds in your environment and listening very deeply. So I've got this stock pot, and that's what we're going to listen to tonight.
Hi, everybody. I hope you're doing well. My name is Josh Quillen. I'm going to be playing a piece, the second movement of a piece by Paul Lansky called Pandemonium. This movement is called Lullaby, and it's written for an instrument from Trinidad and Tobago called the steel drum. And this particular type of steel drum is called the double second. All right, enjoy.
Hey there again, everybody. It seems we had a server crash, but we are back, and you all will never know how amazing my performance of Wally, Gunn, and Jenise Treuting's Willow was. But I'm going to give another one right now. It's a beautiful piece that was written a while ago. Wally and Jenise conspired together on the text for the piece, and Wally wrote the drum music, and it's called Willow. Ma. Hayashi, Shizukana, Hayashi. Saya, Saya. Casa, Casa. Whispering wind in the leaves, in the trees. Casa, Casa. Early morning, 5 a.m., 6 a.m., 7 a.m., sorrow, strength. Woman, arrow, woman, stone. Something is there, though it may not be known. Mayonaka. Shingatsu, Hangatsu, Mangatsu, Konoha, Nikaze. Yoronu, Nomida, Kuguru, Mon. Something is there, though it may not be known. Ma. Nearly midnight. Pasha, Pasha. Water in the forest. Water returns. Eyes. Tears. Yanagi, Kawayanagi, willow, river, rabbit, moon. Something is there. Pasha, Pasha. Though it may not be known. Ma. Something is there, though it may not be known. Something is there, though it may not be known.
Sorry about that. I was muted for a second. Adam Sliwinski back here again. Going to play a second piece for the bitKlavier. If you didn't see the beginning of the show, bitKlavier is the digital piano through laptop instrument invented by Dan Trueman that I've played a lot of pieces with and experimented with. The instrument has three main things that it does. If you heard the first piece, it turns notes into little metronomes and pulses. The first piece, the Prelude, did that a lot. That's called synchronic. The second effect is called nostalgic, is one where when you hold down a note and release it, it plays backwards, which creates a sort of duration element that for pianists is a little bit different. The other main thing that it does is you could do all kinds of different tunings, basically any kind of tuning with it. So the other short piece that I'm going to play is from a book of micro etudes that Dan Trueman commissioned. This piece is by Lainie Fefferman, and it's called Southwing.
Okay, hi again, everybody. The last piece we're going to play for you tonight is a solo piece for double seconds that I arranged. This is a soca tune written in 1989 by a soca artist, Calypsonian named David Rudder, who's from the islands of Trinidad and Tobago. This tune is called 1990. Enjoy.
Hi, everyone. So great to see you. So good to hear you just now. Thank you so much for joining us from the comfort of your home studios and with some kitchen equipment. So just to quickly introduce myself in case those of you in the audience weren't able to catch the very beginning of our live stream. My name is Erin Busch. I am a composer at the University of Pennsylvania, and I was recently working with all of you and the Annenberg Center, along with some other graduate composers, on a concert that was supposed to take place this April, featuring world premiere concerts. And of course that had to be postponed, but it's really great to see you all, reconnect with you in this way. And I think the concert's going to be even better when we're able to come back together, because we're going to be so happy to be making music in person. So that's, I guess, one bright side of all of this. So I would invite any of you in the audience to please write in your questions, comments, anything you'd like to ask all of these guys while we have them here. We heard some maybe less traditional percussion instruments tonight, so if you have questions about that, please don't hold back. And maybe while we are waiting to receive some comments or questions, we can just go around, and I'd love to just check in with you guys and see how you're all doing. Maybe how quarantine has been for you, and anything in particular you're really looking forward to getting back to once we can move a little more freely again. So maybe we can go in concert order. Adam, if you want to start.
Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Okay. I did a little bit of a pantomime earlier. I was on mute for a second, so I just want to make sure I was good now. I don't think anybody's going to say the quarantine's easy on them, right? It's been a very challenging, 5 months, 6 months. I would say, from the perspective of Percussion, I think we've been trying to use this time to think of, okay, all of the rapid change that's happening in terms of thinking of what it means to be a music ensemble. We're trying to think of as many ways as possible for those changes to become really positive, added kind of value things that will be part of what we do, even once people come back together. So all this working with technology, a lot, learning more about live streaming, learning more about remote collaboration, putting pieces together, videos together with different collaborators without being in the room. We're all excited to get back in the room as soon as possible, but we're actually hoping that a lot of this stuff we've learned will become part of a new situation, which is kind of a hybrid of the way we're always used to working and this more intensive use of technology. So, doing a concert like tonight was a great way for us all to jump into that as well. I will say that, the four of us are used to being in a room together for almost 20 years now. So I do miss that. I don't mind saying that I miss that, but I am glad that we could do something tonight.
Yeah, definitely. Eric, do you want to chime in, see how you're doing?
Yeah, I was just thinking about, you can hear me too, right?
Yes.
Wonderful, okay. Never is to check.
Thumbs up.
Kind of along the lines of what Adam was saying, I was just thinking how funny it is that when all of this started and our calendar got cleared, suddenly we had all of this free time. And then in the last few weeks, we keep telling each other, oh man, I'm so busy, my schedule's packed, which is hilarious because it's packed, with Zoom calls and Skype meetings and things like that all day. But I think it's opened up all of these possibilities of things that we can be doing from home. And we had some awesome opportunities, some students of ours at Princeton were finishing a course where they had started an Icelandic piece. So we had Nadia Sirota come into them and talk about all this amazing Icelandic music that I didn't even know about. And then, Jason and I teach at Bard College, and we had students in our percussion program there, like record a whole EP. Actually, I have some pieces that Jason wrote, and we released it on Bandcamp, and we used it to raise money for, the Bard Student Emergency Fund. So actually, it's been such a great kind of creative time in the midst of what is obviously a really difficult time in so many other ways. I feel like I agree with Adam that I sense that some of the things we're learning right now will stick with us.
Yeah, definitely. And I also would love if you would just introduce us to your furry friend back there.
Oh, that's Parsley. Yeah. She's totally unimpressed.
Yeah.
As usual.
Yeah.
Well, it seems to have, your rolling meditation really did a number on her.
Yeah.
Josh, I think you were next. Do you want to just chime in?
Sure, I'm just going to assume you can hear me, so if you can't, don't tell me and just let me ramble. I just to echo everybody's sentiments. I mean, a hard quarantine, quarantine feeling hard has been relative depending on who the person is. So I don't want to pretend like my personal quarantine has been harder than anybody else's, but it has been something, it's been fascinating to me to watch humans and society and musicians all evolve in real time. Normally this sort of stuff takes years of just somebody does an online collaboration and somebody notices that as oh, that worked. And then somebody 6 months later does it. And we went from that group of celebrities singing Imagine to all of a sudden now an entire online festival that is based on that very tool. And it's just been an interesting thing to sort of track those data points along the way. And myself as a musician, I mean, the setup that I played on tonight was one that was born out of being stuck at home. I never get to practice my pans at home. I'm never here, And so I set him up, and my friend Victor Provost my friend Victor gave me a challenge to learn some Thelonious Monk. And so I did, and it was terrible, and I played wrong notes, but I developed a sound on a new instrument here, this sort of hybrid double second thing that I never would have otherwise. I just wouldn't have had the time. So I'm really grateful for those unexpected consequences of all this.
Yeah, that sounds awesome. And I'm sure it opens up new improvisational experiences for you. And I also wonder what Monk would say about like a wrong note. So I wouldn't be too hard on myself about that.
Monk's
trust
not
me,
I'm not sure there's wrong notes in Monk.
Well, when you write a melody and it says C flat, that means to play C flat, not C natural. And it turns out accidentals carry through the bar, so.
Composing instrument, you know.
Yeah, there are some notes that need to be there, I think.
Okay. Well, that's great to hear. And Jason, you want to tell us how you've been doing?
No, I'm just joking.
Yeah.
Can you hear me? Yeah, I think I've been realizing that I think I'm in the right line of work. I really, really miss playing music for people, and I can't wait to be, like you said, I think our show at UPenn will be that much better because I think we're all going to be yearning to be sharing this music with real audiences, But I think I mentioned early on, I've been playing my daughter's baby drum kit for the last 3 months and developing a sound on a new instrument. It's been I never actually play music at home, like Josh said, so that's been kind of fun. And I think to echo what everybody else has been saying, I think so we finally kind of found a way. Every week we've been creative on a new track of an old project of ours called Amid the Noise. And so this is the kind of first virtual show that we're doing, and the next one we'll be doing July 12th to open our festival, a kind of watch party of all these remade videos of this old music. So we've been slowly kind of figuring out how to be creative on our own and actually reaching out to a lot of friends to bring them into the process too. So that's been a kind of gift, I think, that can, like Adam said, carry through once lives become a bit more normal. But I really, really miss the idea of sharing music with humans in a room and being in the same space as others will be, it'll be a gift when it happens.
Yeah, definitely. It's going to make us appreciate it, I think, in a whole new way. One thing I've been thinking a lot about too is like if this had happened 10 years ago, how different our experiences would be now too, because we just wouldn't be able to connect in this way. Like this kind of live synchronous concert, I don't think would have been possible in 2010, or at least we would have had like way more technical difficulties. So I think we can be grateful at least that we can still gather and connect. And it's great that you're able to connect with your collaborators as well. We do have a few questions. So one question is, how does the bitKlavier work? It sounded quite different from most other electronic music. So maybe Adam, you could just talk about like how does it work on your end?
Well, the actual technical details, I have no idea because it's a very sophisticated software program. And one of the things that Dan Trueman did, Dan is a professor of composition at Princeton. He's also a fiddler and he's also a programmer. So he actually coded this program from scratch. It's absolutely incredible with another person, Mike Mulshine, who's now at Stanford. And how it works on my end is that I don't actually need to know any of the stuff of how it's built. It is a responsive, touch-sensitive instrument that I, as a performer, just get into playing. So in either of the pieces that I was playing, I think one of the reasons it might have sounded different from other electronic music to people, all of the effects that were happening were responsive to my timing and touch in a way that I think gives the music itself a lot of life. So even when I would hit one of those chords in my first pieces, that triggered a metronome. All of the metronome notes depended for their velocity, for their volume, on how I hit the chord to begin with. So as a performer, that actually is exactly the same mentality and toolkit that you take to an acoustic instrument. Well, the sound is going to respond to my touch. So my whole process with him the whole way has been really being quite ignorant of the technical details and issues. And I mean, I have a laptop plugged into a digital piano, and there's a nice little graphic interface with little symbols that I can manipulate and connect to each other. And that's it from the technical side. Otherwise, it's just me playing the keyboard, and I've really enjoyed that part of it.
That's great. And were you able to practice maybe without the bitKlavier? Did you practice just like solo acoustically first and then add that in later? Or did you start with the effects right away? So I can imagine it's a little arresting to just hear it, completely without effects and then hear like swells and all sorts of effects coming in.
When he was first developing the instrument, I would go back and forth a lot. But now that I have my own whole kind of rig here at home now, I have it in my closet, actually. I've cleared out my closet and put it here. My wife is a professional pianist and piano teacher, so we have a baby grand piano, an upright piano, and a digital piano. And so, for me, it's just kind of been this thing where learning the pieces now, I actually have to to go into the program and use the bitKlavier right away, because some of the things, like, I don't know, in the first piece, there was a moment where I hold down a bunch of notes in succession and then I release them all together. And then they all come back at different timings depending on how long I held them down. And I have to feel out the timing of those notes coming back and then come back in with the climax of the piece. There's no way to replicate that on the piano. And pianists are used to playing an instrument that always decays every time you play a note. In this case, you're talking about an instrument that can grow and have duration and growth coming back at you. It's a completely different headspace to be in as a keyboard player. So now whenever I get bitKlavier pieces, and there's lots of new ones being written right now at Princeton, I have to get right into the program and understand how the program behaves for that piece.
Yeah, that makes total sense. But I mean, both of the pieces that you played tonight were totally different uses of the instrument too. So I'm excited to see how this new instrument will continue to grow in repertoire in the coming years.
Maybe you'll write something for it.
Okay, I'll do it. As long as I don't have to understand the technical side, I'm down. We have a question for Eric, a question about the stock pot. Is it a special stock pot or is it custom? Is this from Williams-Sonoma? Do you have a preference for different kinds of kitchen equipment that you're playing on? I mean, like, why did you choose this particular pot, I guess, too?
Well, So Percussion is endorsed by Cuisinart, so that's what I'm playing tonight. Although we're looking to move up to all clad, so all clad if you're watching.
We'll get there.
But yeah, actually, you know,
times are hard,
Pauline,
people.
You know, Pauline Oliveros, her piece. You know, many people are studying her scores a ton these days, and a lot of times they're written in this way that just has a ton of space in the score. You know, I think she starts this one and she says, try to start the piece with the force of your imagination. So don't try to play the instrument, just try to hear what it's going to sound like before you touch it. And then she allows for the option of using electronics and things like that to manipulate the thing that you're performing on. But other than that, she kind of just tells you to roll for a duration and listen to your roll and then decide when the roll should be over. So yeah, I actually kind of, like, I set up a little kind of game for myself in Ableton where it would spit things back to me, and I kind of had to listen to it and find my way through what the computer was sending back to me. And I feel like that was a way for myself to engage with the listening, maybe not just with the pot, but also with the technology that we're using right now.
Right. I mean, it was really beautiful response that we were getting, and it almost, I mean, maybe it was the visual of the pot, but it really felt like heat rising a lot of the time.
Well, you know, this is my first performance, so maybe it'll become part of the repertoire.
Yeah, we'll have to check that out. I'll keep an eye on that. And we have a question here also, I think a follow-up. What is the most unusual material or item that you have played as a percussive instrument? So I guess that could be to all of you. I'm not sure how you would view the word unusual, but maybe to a non-percussionist.
Well, yeah, I think the unusual part, luckily our kind of lineage of experimental music is making sound on everything. So it's funny to think that when I look at the steel drums and I look at the pot, I didn't necessarily think of one as crazier than the other, you know. But I think our go-to answer would be, just because we've made a lot of music on it. Cactus has become an instrument close to our hearts. We have named them throughout their lives in So Percussion. We've gone from Murray to Arlen to Sade, I believe, was maybe one of our latest cacti. But we must credit John Cage really with a lot of the sounds that we play as a group, I would say. And he wrote a piece called Child of Tree, which is very open. It could be played on any plant material, but traditionally it starts on a cactus. And the idea is, you know, if you were to put your ear very close to the tine of the cactus and pluck it, it's a beautiful sound. And so if you put a microphone, by gently snipping off some of those tines from the cactus and putting a contact microphone on the cactus, it sounds wonderful. So we do perform some Cage music on that, and made some music with a great electronic music duo that we've worked with a good amount called Matmos. We did a track called Needles for the Cactus. So I would say, I don't know, that's been my go-to answer, but I'm sure all of us would have fun things to add.
cactus, to me, without any context, would just seem like a dangerous thing to play percussively.
Well, I will say you go down, don't go up. We usually play a ball cactus, and if you go down the instrument, it's nice on your. If you go up, you're gonna run into trouble.
Well, I was just thinking, we had a performance where we played this piece, Needles, as we were opening for the rock band The National at the Beacon Theater. So 3,000 people in the audience, and the lead singer for the National.
There weren't quite 3,000 yet when we were.
Yeah, that's true. And
3,000 empty seats.
No.
And then the National comes out on stage, and the lead singer goes, "Well, I think that was the first time we've had a cactus open up for us."
I like that he wasn't sure, though.
Yeah,
exactly.
Great. Well, so I don't think we have any more questions from the audience. So if anyone else has questions or comments, please send them my way. I have a couple things I thought we could maybe discuss. Jason, I'm wondering, the Wally Gunn piece, I've heard some of his music before, and I really love the meditative feel that it has. It's like, in some ways, it's kind of like a clockwork groove, but there's still a lot of freedom within there. And in this piece, you're using your voice percussively too. So it's almost like a duet within one body. And I'm wondering, is there any direction that you're given with the text, or is that just something that you're feeling out? Does it like change from performance to performance for you?
Yeah, well, when he wrote the piece for me, he's written a lot for texts, speaking percussionist, and he asked me if I ever did that kind of thing, and I said no, and that I wouldn't really like to. And he kind of went behind my back, and because he had asked me if I'd ever thought about doing something like that, and I said, well, I've talked to my sister, collaborate with quite a bit. Her name's Jenise. She's a translator, and we thought if we ever did something with text, it'd be interesting to translate something back and forth and see how the meaning changes as it's translated. So he kind of went behind my back and started that process with Jenise. And when he came back to me with this text that he had been working on with her, I kind of couldn't say no.
Right.
But his idea, I think, is that it's spoken hopefully not very theatrically, but just fairly plainly and soft spoken, not the theater. And I find myself, I think, maybe mimicking little melodies that I hear between the drums. There's just basically 4 sounds in the drums, and then with the voice. So when it does go into something melodic, I think it feels like to me, I can feel myself echoing the drums. But I agree with you that it feels, for so long there's so few sounds, just the kind of one sound on the drum and one on the rim, and he outlines this kind of alternating these time signatures, but just in really simple and beautiful ways. And I find it kind of mesmerizing as well. So I don't get to perform it too often, but I love it whenever I get a chance to kind of revisit it and see where it goes.
Yeah, I'm wondering too, like you said, you were not really too enthusiastic about the speaking part when this was first presented to you. Has that changed now? Do you feel more open to that in a future piece?
Well, I'll say with this one, I think I don't question it. But I think there are people out there that I can think of Abby Fisher. Is that her last name? Yeah, Abby Fisher comes to mind. She's a wonderful. Bonnie Whiting-Smith comes to mind. Josh is a wonderful. When we deal with text, we usually send it Josh's way. So I think I'm not actively searching to be a kind of speaking percussion performer, but this one kind of feels personal in a way that I don't question it anymore for myself. And I think this is the first movement of there will be some more, all based on trees. This was the first one called Willow, but he's going to kind of go down this route on a couple other movements. So I'm excited about it. And I think like lots of things that So is asked to do, once you kind of dig into it and it becomes just a part of your practice, then I don't question it anymore, and I think that's where this is for me. Like I said, I'm not sure I would actively search it out, but I really enjoy doing this one.
Okay, well, I won't revise my piece to give you a big solo. I
think that's fair. I think that's fair.
Now that I know you don't love it. But it's interesting, all the plant imagery, the cacti, and then the willow. And I'm not sure if you guys saw it. I don't remember the orchestra. Some orchestra in Spain who did a concert for plants. They just like filled the hall with a bunch of plants. And I can see you guys maybe doing something similar in nature, like playing nature back at itself. feel like there's a seed of something there, no pun intended.
I gotta say that concert hall filled with plants was more moving to me than I thought it was going to be. It was kind of beautiful. I gotta say, it was very weird. I didn't think I would react to that like I did.
It's very visceral to just see like nature in like not invading, but like being brought into the spaces that we have generally excluded it from. And that's one thing that I think is kind of beautiful about what we're seeing now, people being really creative about the ways that we are connecting with one another and reconnecting with our roots. There's another one.
You're really good on their natural puns, I feel like. Very natural puns.
I've been doing a lot of yoga lately. It's in my system.
Okay, Erin, can I ask you a question?
Sure.
You just mentioned yoga. Have you heard of goat yoga?
Yes, I have heard of goat yoga.
Do you guys know what goat yoga is? It's people do yoga with little baby goats in a barn and they like walk around on their back and stuff. It is like the most terrifying and cutest thing simultaneously you've ever seen. I'm just gonna recommend you Google it.
Yeah. My mom went to a goat yoga class. She's never done any other yoga, but she did goat yoga. I was like,
wow.
And I think it's not really the same. It's kind of a niche, like its own little thing, but
that's really branching out.
If you guys are looking to try something out, once we're able to, come back together with some goats. And let me see.
I would like the Annenberg Center.
Out there, didn't I?
I want it noted that I have not participated in this part of the conversation.
Well, Josh, maybe we can follow about the speaking role. You're always given the speaking roles. Is there a reason for that? Are you just particularly comfortable with it?
I've always, I think Jason mentioned our work with Matmos, and Martin Schmidt in Matmos, one of the roles, mainly the role he plays on stage, and the two of them, and it changes piece to piece, but he plays stuff live, and Drew will manipulate stuff in a laptop. That's a very broad brush to paint with, but that's basically it. And Martin, there was a project we did with, I think it was called The Backyard, is that right? We played with them on a concert, and it was a Robert Ashley piece, and Martin was delivering it with music, and I was just like, what? Like, there are percussion pieces with words in it, but narrative theater percussion was never really a thing. Like, that's still not, there is theater percussion, but I don't know, Martin did it in a way that was very performative and used his voice and text like we used marimbas and vibraphones and whatever. So I was really fascinated by that, and I started getting all of these old like preacher records from, there's this record label called The Word that is from Waco, Texas actually, and they would print out records that were just a sermon, one on each side, for people who were, couldn't come to the church. The voices are amazing. Like, forget about the text, what their narrative is, but it's like I just became obsessed with just the delivery of text in general as a thing. And I worked with Ain Gordon a bit. So did a few projects. Where We Live was the first project where we really used text in a major way. And we were working with Ain's an amazing dramaturg, director, playwright in his own right. And he really kind of kicked my butt. Like, I had a boot camp, like, not only writing text, but also performing text you've written boot camp. Like, I just had it all at once with Ain, and it was an amazing learning experience. And I've just really enjoyed the opportunity to get to do it. We did a project called From Out of Darker Sea, and there's one of the movements is kind of a conversation between two people, one who has ALS and the other is his wife, Sylvia, who are two real people that we met in England for that project. And Jason delivers the other remaining part of the text. So it's funny that Jason is like, I don't like the tech to deliver text, but I sort of roped him in on that project.
I really love that one too, Josh.
Yeah, I know. So anyway, it's well, and I will say it's something that, being a part of this group, one of the things that, I think the four of us, we don't take for granted, but we have to pinch ourselves every once in a while, is that we don't judge each other's ideas. Like, we try to let everybody's ideas just sit in the fridge as long as they can until no one wants to eat them. And like, that has been the case for me with tech stuff. Like, I come in and I'm always very grateful that they allow me to try out different things, and it's part of what makes me me. So I'm grateful for it.
That's awesome. Yeah, I mean,
Oh no, I would just say, we started out just as a new music group, a repertoire group, a play composers pieces group. And of course, that's still a big core of what we are. But this process of branching out together into creation and text and composing and theater, theatrical stuff, I think it's been part of what has kept us really interested in working together for what is kind of turning into sort of a long time now. 15 to 20, hasn't felt like a long time, but it has been. 15 to 20 years-ish, that we've been doing this. And there were kind of moments in the group's history where we had to decide whether that branching was okay or made sense. Like, are we, there was literally a moment where Jason brought in some music he wrote, and we all kind of stared at each other, and it was like, are we allowed to do that? And I think we kind of looked at each other and was like, well, why not? And so that has been part of that whole journey for us.
That's one thing that I actually really admire about you guys as a group is you are kind of involved in every part of the creative process. And you're really connected with the composer side, the performer side, and the production side, and that makes it really enjoyable for me to work with you guys, and also makes you really informed educators as well, and the performances are even better because of it.
Erin, I have a
Thanks,
question
Erin.
for you actually. A part of the reason we're doing this is because we're collaborating with you and 4 other students at UPenn, and collaborating and bringing something new into the world. And I am just curious, from your standpoint, what have been the preconceptions you had walking into the room with your piece for the first time, and then over the couple times we've hung with you, what have been the sort of things for you that have been a challenge in writing for Percussion Quartet? I'm just kind of curious from your angle what that's been.
It was very challenging to write for Percussion Quartet, just because it's really difficult to imagine the sounds that you're looking for without being able to just play them in real life. I'm a cellist, and I'm pretty familiar, of course, with the standard orchestral instruments, and I can imagine pretty well what a trumpet sounds like, even if it's being played in this way. But it was difficult for me to be I wonder what happens when I hit a flower pot and then I dip it into water. So I just had to go buy one and try it out. So that was actually really fun, but it was definitely really different to brainstorm. I have a notebook over here in my little composing corner that I filled with many pages of revision. As I kind of would wake up and play around a little bit more with the stuff that I bought and realize, actually, I don't think this is going to sound the way I thought it would. And in our first rehearsal together, I brought in the piece that I wrote is called Wilt, Fall, Root, Rise. And I really wanted, 4 movements, essentially, with each corresponding to one of those words. And when I brought in that first movement, Wilt, I had an idea of the form of it. I wanted to establish something and then have it wilt away. But when you guys were playing it all together, I was like, this does not sound like anything what I thought it was going to be. And you were playing it accurately, so it was me on me.
Were we though?
You were.
Don't be nice, Erin.
We actually have tape from that right now. Let's roll.
But I had to think about why is it not what I thought it was going to be? What about my process? Am I kind of missing a step here? And so it took me, I couldn't even explain in the moment why it wasn't what I wanted. But going back and listening to it and thinking about it, and really just understanding also that you guys are so down for kind of whatever I was throwing at you, made me feel like I could reassess. And I think the product that I came up with in the end is a lot more accurate to what I was really envisioning, even if I couldn't hear it right away.
Yeah, one of the things that I have, I was talking to my wife the other night. I said, you're the only person who I've had physical contact with since March 5th. And given that So Percussion values collaboration and in-person back and forth so heavily, it's literally the root that is stuck in the ground is in the room, tossing ideas around at each other. I think even though the process between us and you and the other 4 composers is a little more truncated than any of us would like, it does highlight for me how important it is to be in the room, and your ideas your feelings about something don't mean anything until you get in the room and try it. And I'm sort of stating the obvious that we miss that and want that, but I want to just state the obvious. I really, really, really do miss being in the room with everybody and sort of hashing that stuff out.
Yeah. I think we can all second and third and fourth that. It's going to be amazing to come back together. I think that's about it for our concert and conversation. Thank you guys so much for joining. Thank you to everyone in the audience for being with us. We are really looking forward to putting together the Penn Composers Concert at Annenberg with all of you at some point in the future. And I hope you all stay well, and I hope to see you at some point soon.
Thank you very much. And thanks everybody.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye-bye.